Hello and welcome. What if a power outage in one country and the capture of a president in another weren't two different stories? What if they were actually connected? Today we're going to look at two big events that happened on the very same day and see how they might just be part of one much bigger story. So let's look at two very different places on January 16th, 2026. On one side of the world, in Kyiv, Ukraine, it's winter, it's dark, and it's cold. On the other side of the world, in sunny Caracas, Venezuela, something huge is happening. American soldiers have just captured the country's president.
You know, Ukraine and Venezuela are really far apart. They have different cultures, different problems. It seems like these two events have nothing to do with each other. But maybe they do. Let's look closer and see if we can find the connection.
So, here's our plan for today. First, we'll look at the news headlines. Then, we'll learn a couple of important words that will help us understand everything. After that, we'll look at America's big action in Venezuela, see how other countries reacted, and then, at the end, we'll put it all together. Okay, let's start with our first part. Let's go back to that day. What was really happening in Kyiv, and what was happening in Caracas? In Kyiv, life was really hard. A blackout means no electricity, and no electricity in the middle of winter means no heat. Imagine that. For thousands of people, their homes were cold. Kids couldn't go to school, and many people couldn't go to work. Life just stopped.
At the same time, in Caracas, the U.S. military did something you don't see very often. They captured a president. The U.S. said it was about stopping drug crimes, but Venezuela and its friends, like Russia and Cuba, said, no, this was a military attack. Two very different views of the same event.
Now, to see the link between a blackout and a capture, we need to understand two important new words. They help explain how countries act in the world.
Our first word is geopolitics. It might sound complicated, but it's pretty simple. Geo means the world, and politics is about power. So geopolitics is just about how countries use their power on the world stage. It's like a big game between nations.
And our second word is ally. This one's easy. An ally is a friend. But for countries, it's a special kind of friend. It means they have an agreement to help and support each other.
Okay, now that we know those words, let's go back to Venezuela. Why did the United States do something so big and so risky?
The plan had three main steps. First, the U.S. used ships to block the coast of Venezuela. That's called a blockade. Second, they used airplanes for attacks on military targets. And the last step? A special team of soldiers went in to capture President Maduro.
And the U.S. President, Donald Trump, was very direct about it. He told the whole world exactly what happened. This wasn't just news, it was a message to other countries, showing America's power.
But this action had a real cost. More than 80 people in Venezuela died. This shows us that these big global moves have very real and very sad consequences for people.
So, again, why Venezuela? Well, there are two really important reasons. One, it has a lot of oil. That's very valuable. And two, maybe even more important, Venezuela was a key ally, a good friend of Russia.
When something this big happens, it affects everyone. Other countries can't just ignore it. They have to react, to choose a side, or maybe even find new friends.
And the reactions came fast, and some were a big surprise. Canada, which is America's neighbor and old friend, announced it was making a new strategic partnership with China. This was a really big deal, a huge change.
Why would Canada do that? Well, it seems the relationship between Canada and the U.S. wasn't so great at the time. So Canada started looking for other powerful friends, and it found one in China.
And it wasn't just Canada. Leaders all over the globe were suddenly very busy. Russia's president was on the phone. The U.S. president was putting more pressure on Ukraine. And all of this action made the whole world a little bit more dangerous.
So, let's think. A blackout in Kyiv, a captured president in Caracas, a new friendship between Canada and China. Is all of this just happening by chance, or could it be part of one big single plan?
Well, some experts say it is not by chance at all. They believe all these events are connected. They say we're watching a kind of global bargain, like a giant business deal for the entire world.
And this way of thinking is often connected to President Trump's style. As one person described it, he's very focused on the goal, he sees what he wants, and he does what it takes to get there, even if it's a very big, bold move.
And what are the goals of this huge negotiation? Well, the list is long and very important. Things like ending the war in Ukraine, changing things in Venezuela, and talking about the world's most dangerous weapons. These are the biggest problems in the world.
And this, right here, is how it all connects. The action against Venezuela wasn't just about Venezuela. It was a move against Russia, its ally. The idea is that by weakening Russia's friend, the U.S. gets more power in other negotiations, like the talks about ending the war in Ukraine.
So, this way of handling world problems is very bold, but it's also very risky. It can create a lot of change, but also a lot of uncertainty. And it leaves us with one last big question. When the most powerful countries make big deals, what happens to everybody else?